All right. Sir, go ahead and start with Tango Tango.
Absolutely. So thank you all for your time today. I'll try to be respectful of it. So this program, Tango Tango, does everybody have it or have looked at it? Because I've got some copies here.
These aren't.
No, but those are not Tango Tango.
Oh.
Those are for the noise ordinance that Chief Holt's gonna talk about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the cost hadn't gone up since we read it.
Well, the thing that was on the numbers were wrong too. When it was briefly on the consent agenda for last week, they had run the wrong numbers on it. So that was wrong. And I needed to put this in front of y'all before, since it's out of the budget cycle a little bit. So what this program is, to put it simply, it's an app and it's a software program that allows us the ability to, hear on your phone, and we're demoing it right now and have been for a little bit. And you can access our primary radio channel, which is good, and you can not only receive, you can transmit if you need to. I can actually pull it up here. And again, it's just a simple app, and you can decide if you want to join that one. So we're joined to the, I think, there we go. I won't let that be distracting. But, if anybody says anything, it comes through on there. So here's why it's valuable. We have around 100, when we're at full staff, we have around 120 police officers. And at any time, they could be at any place doing anything when they're off duty, when they're away from work. Currently, if they're involved in an emergency, or if they witness a crime where maybe they have their family with them, so they're trying to be a good witness, they're not going to intervene because it's not safe to do so. What this allows them to do, instead of calling dispatch on the phone and giving them details, they can literally just tap it and have access to our radio and be able to say, hey, this is me, this is where I am, this is what's going on, and be giving real-time information to every police officer that is on duty at the time. So that's helpful for that reason. For command staff, it's very helpful because we're in meetings like this sometimes, or we're traveling, or we're maybe at a conference or something where we're not tuned into the radio. So without this capability, this is kind of how it looks if there's an emergency situation going on. It's a text group with command staff, none of which, there may be one that has their radio on, so they're trying to relay information secondhand, so the information is late. A great example would be our most recent shooting that we were involved in. I was standing in Charlotte Airport when that happened. That's misery to be that far away when something like that's going on. So I was getting my information via text, a couple of phone calls, but it was from people that were incredibly busy. They were trying to take care of things, but they were also trying to let me know about what I need to know about. And this would have taken care of all that. We have an app that we already have an app that covers our database, so I can look at calls and see what's being typed in by dispatch, but I can't hear what's going on, and I certainly can't transmit and participate, in a conversation that maybe I need to participate in. So what this does, it gives us that capability. You'll see on the sheet, this is kind of a summary on that last sheet there. Like I already talked about the off-duty capabilities, faster communication. Communication needs to be as quick and accurate as it can be. And what this does is improve that. It frees up people that don't have to provide information that they might be in a situation where they're being asked by a commander, hey, I need this information. They won't have to do that now because that commander could be out of town, could be off duty, whatever. I listened to a car chase last week while I was at home having dinner. I just got a text that said, hey, we have a car chase. So we're demoing it right now, so 2 taps on my phone, and I could hear everything was happening in real time. And the things I missed before I tapped it, you can go back and catch up. You can listen to those as they occur. So it just speeds up that communication so much faster, makes it more effective.
So do you add an app to your phone?
That's it, yeah. What we pay for is the software and the app.
So how secure?
It's secure. That's really what we pay for is, I guess, the encryption or whatever that makes that secure, where only those with permission are able to have that. But if you think about it, anyone can have a scanner and they can listen to the same station. They can't transmit, but they can listen and still have. So it's not secure information. It's our primary radio channel, and really anybody can listen to that if they want to. It's much more convenient to have a phone than to carry a scanner with you or a police radio, obviously.
So every officer would have access to this,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
Will, speaking of the secure network, Chief, will that be handled at that level, or will there be somebody at the police department who will be ensuring that the right people are licensed or not licensed or whatever?
That's a good question. So it'll be within the police department. It'll actually be Deputy Chief Eric Nichols. He's over our logistics and supply side. And there's some device that he has in his office right now that they use.
As part of the demo that they've
Yes.
given him to use?
All control in-house?
Yes. Let's see, what else? I talked about command staff visibility. We can monitor live events and that flexible communication options. There's also within it, you can create groups within it. So you can have push-to-talk groups, kind of like a text group, but everybody can hear everybody at the same time. The neat thing about it, it's anywhere in the world. It's crazy. So we demoed this product. Actually, we purchased this product in 2019, maybe. And it was just before COVID. And the technology, it was the technology of the time. It was really, really good. They had a bad delay at the time for us, the radio, so we weren't pleased with that. So we got out of the contract. But one of the really cool things were we were taking my daughter on her high school this how long ago. It was a high school senior trip after they graduated. And we were on a cruise. And we were in Haiti. So just for fun, I got on there. I thought, there's no way this is going to work from this distance. And I mean, I just tapped it and I said something. And it was like we were sitting in a room like this with command staff. It was unbelievable how cool that is. I'm never going back to Haiti. But if I did, I'm locked into there. I can communicate. But certainly anywhere in the country and anywhere you are, you can hear what's going on. And just in this business, it makes a big difference. It's one thing to hear about things that are going on, but when you can hear them, it makes a world of difference. So.
Is Tango the only company that does this, or did you have other people reach out? The technology, yes, has come a long way, but I'm curious, at this price and at this company, are there others that do this? Did you sample them, or did they the ones that came along?
These are the ones that came out. What we did, we reached out and revisited because we had heard through other departments apparently that said, hey, listen, it's not like it was then. There's no delay anymore, and they have some better features now, which they do, and it's much cheaper. It was $5,000 a year then. It's less than $3,000 now, and it's year to year. That's the good thing about it. We're not locked into a multi-year contract where if we are dissatisfied with it, we always
So
have
next
out.
year, if there's something better than you can go on to it.
Exactly.
You mentioned if, your officers are out but they're not on duty and they see something happen, how often does that happen that they then become witnesses to crimes?
Very often.
Like daily, weekly?
I don't know what the data would be on it, but I can say anecdotally that it happens very often. They become really good witnesses. We've had officers, we had one that was in line at a bank one time, and that bank got robbed while he was in line there at the officers. This is very typically what happens. Officers out at a restaurant with their family, and they witness a domestic that's happening right in front of them. They have their family with them, so they can't really safely intervene in that
What
moment.
do they do in a situation like
Well,
that?
before this, they get on the phone and they call dispatch and say, hey, I'm at Cracker Barrel and there's a domestic happening. I will continue to monitor, and if it gets dangerous to the point where I have to intervene, I will, but that can endanger the families, that kind of thing. So they know kind of where that line is, so they will be on the phone with dispatch, and then dispatch will get on the radio and broadcast it out, where before they can pick that up, or now they could transmit themselves and say, hey, I'm at Cracker Barrel, this is happening, I need a unit here now, this is what I'm seeing, hey, the suspect left in this vehicle. They can give real-time information, it's not going to be relayed.
Just, go ahead.
No, please.
Just curious, in a situation like that, has an officer, even though he may be with his family or et cetera, has he ever went up to him and identified himself?
Absolutely.
He did, okay.
The example at the bank robbery, yes, obviously it was a bank robbery.
Right.
That was a foot chase, tackled him in the parking lot kind of a situation. One domestic in particular, I think it was Wendy's, or the one out by Target.
Sounds like
next to
Crystal.
Arby's.
Oh, that's Wendy's?
Yeah, so they,
Zaxby's is
they,
also there.
they were in Wendy's though, and they were there with the family, and a domestic happened in the parking lot. He watched it and observed it and reported as long as he could, but it got very physical very fast, so he just had to get up and go deal with it. So it happens with frequency. I would not say it's uncommon at
Okay.
all.
So normally, and this is away from this topic, but normally if you're off duty, do officers carry a weapon?
Our policy states they have to have access to a firearm when they're off duty, so they either have that on
At all
them.
times, pretty much.
At all, yeah, all times.
Because I know at one time, this seems like it goes back to when Rick Singleton was there. I know there was some discussion about having I think Courthouse Racket Club was there then. And I think, I don't know if he required it or something, you had to leave the weapon in your vehicle, you couldn't bring it into because you couldn't lock it up. But
Yeah, there's some places, and we try to abide by those. If they're off duty, our officers do try to abide by those.
But I think
Just
it-
having access could be in the vehicle. That would count as having.
And I think the Y may, since they've got, lockable lock, they would probably, I mean, if somebody knows what they're doing, if there was something happened, I wouldn't mind if they're in there.
Well, and that's usually the case. It's just, if they're able to do it securely. That's why we have those policies in place that just having access means that you can get to one fairly quickly. You're not allowed, you don't have to have it on your body all the time. So in your car, that counts, so.
Of all the benefits that you mentioned that we have listed here, which of them do you believe is the most valuable?
Oh, wow, that is a great question. I always ask the hard ones.
Sorry.
The most valuable, let me look real quick. The real-time aspect of it, the expediency of the
I
communication.
sprung a leak.
And it doesn't have to be translated. Literally what the officer's seeing in that moment, they can describe it as they see it, literally at the time that they see it. It shaves off seconds, maybe even minutes, and those are critical. So. And accuracy.
I'm
Thank you.
amazed that for $3,000, you're gonna give coverage to over 100 officers. I think that's pretty amazing.
Is there a limit to the number of people who can use it in the department, or is it departmental wide?
It could be departmental wide.
You just don't need it to be.
Well, sworn officers, we definitely want sworn officers to have that ability. Look at it this way, so they have access to our primary radio channel. So what they say, everyone can hear. So we want it to be people that can handle that responsibility.
And
That's a
then,
diplomatic way for me to say that.
How about dispatch?
They could be, yeah, could be. But see, they're not required to intervene into things, but we want as many witnesses out there as we can get. So that would be a consideration. We would look at that possibly.
No, the reason I asked about dispatch, because when someone calls in, will the officers, will they have capabilities of hearing what's called into dispatch? That's what I'm asking, really.
Oh, yeah, anybody that has it on. So like for me as a commander, as the chief, so I don't listen to a radio all day. I'm not able to do that. So when I'm in my truck going from place to place, I can hear it, but I'm limited to that. So if we were sitting in this meeting right now and I got a text from my command staff that said, hey, we just shot somebody, I could go over here and I could listen to what's happening live. That way I'm not having to say, hey, have we done this yet? Hey, has this been covered? We thought about that. I'm not having to do any of those things because I'm hearing it happen. So as a commander, it's very valuable. As an off-duty officer, it's very valuable because they're still police officers and they see things that happen. And maybe it's something they intervene in, but now instead of intervening and then calling, they can get on here and say, hey, I'm out with this, I'm at this place, I'm in plain clothes, send me a marked unit, just so that way it's done safely.
is there another department in our area that uses it?
I got it.
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so. But
The,
don't hold me to that.
It says the software and required hardware. Will the price in the next couple of years reflect not needing any hardware? Or will it just stay at that price?
That's a good question, but I think the answer is it would be the same price every year. Because I think us having the hardware, I think that's just something we pay for. Because if you'll remember, the number that was on the consent agenda was like $8,900.
Yeah,
Whatever it was this times 3.
okay.
So this is the annual rate right here?
Yes, ma'am, and we have that option, it's year to year, so if there's something we're not happy with, or we
Are
want to
you
change
locked
something
into
else.
3 years?
No.
1 year.
We can leave after a year.
But you've already paid the 89.
No, we haven't paid anything.
No, but I'm saying the contract was $8,900.
That was a mistake, that was incorrect, I had to have that
Okay,
corrected.
alright.
The correct number is this, $29.95.
Big difference.
Sure, yeah, it's a third.
Difference.
All right,
Major
so,
difference.
all right, let's say everything you've got on the radio, all that's recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're speaking, that's gonna be recorded by,
It'll be
Other
recorded
side.
by the app, but it'll also be recorded by our system we have at the police department that records it.
Apple recorded too.
Yes,
So you
that's the
have
cool
record.
thing about it, you can show up late on this thing in a call series, and the first thing you see is the history of once that call started. So I can go back and I can hear the very first radio traffic that maybe said, hey, I've got a car not stopping. I can check to make sure that a supervisor's acknowledged that. I can go all the way through, and now I'm caught up, and now I just listen to it.
But
live.
that's the app only.
No,
I mean,
our primary.
when you start with it, I mean, I know it's on that side, but on the app side, when you go on the app, you can see from the beginning of that
Yes,
interaction.
yes.
Okay.
How soon would it take to, assuming that we move forward, how soon would it take for it to start effect?
I don't wanna say immediately, but pretty close to immediate. They're ready, being Tango Tango. We're demoing it now, so we've kinda got all this part done. Of course, it would need to go on the next available consent agenda and go before the entire, council and get approved. If it's approved, within a week.
How long have you been demoing it?
So, I think 3 weeks? I don't think it's been a full month yet. It might
Is
have.
that the amount of time you have?
A total of 45 days is how long
Uh-huh.
we can demo, do the demo. I'm not sure when that expires.
And no problems with your demo or anything like that?
So far, no. I mean, it's been,
No hiccups?
for me personally, it's been great. Very valuable.
Have you had to reach out to tech or to the company itself and ask any questions? Or has it been, describe the demo to us, please.
So, the hardware came, we have the hardware, the software is in place. Everybody has the app. I don't know that everybody has it right now.
You go to the app store.
Don't, yeah, it's that simple. Like you go in, you find it in the app store. You just have to have the licensing and the ability to be able to use it. Permissions that our deputy chief is giving folks. So I think it is a smaller group that has it, but like each specialty unit could have their own small group. Each
So, all right,
detectives could have their small group within it.
so you got, I mean, they'll know you got X users on it. So will that app identify this is X user? I mean, when you use the app, it knows it's you.
Yes, because from my device, like it'll recognize me from my device. So when I key up, it knows there's a record of that came from the app that's on my Colt's phone. Yeah, that's a good question.
And there's no limited users, is that correct?
So I think it's
So like
based
you
off
said,
the
you got
number.
hundred and twenty officers, if you wanted all hundred and twenty to have it, they would.
I think that's what this
No
is
index-
based off,
no
this
ad-
number.
No additional, okay.
I think, I could ask that question and get a better answer to
Yeah.
that.
I think it would be helpful when this does become on the consent agenda to add that, to let us know what the max number of users will be and if
Or if you
adding
can let us
any
know
is
before it
needed.
comes to the agenda,
Yeah, just
Oh,
so
sure.
he can give a report to the council too.
yeah. At least let this committee know before.
Yeah, I could just via email.
Yeah.
Because if it's, if
Perfect.
100 is the max number and you feel like there's a reason to do more, especially within that first year, there would be a reason to bring this group back.
Now,
Okay.
this price right here, this is not a trial or an introductory offer, correct?
No, ma'am, this is the price.
Okay.
If we pull the trigger today, that's what it will cost.
Okay, gotcha.
I wish we didn't need this, but you never know when we need this. And time is of the essence during emergencies.
I agree.
So I assume currently, before this, for them to call dispatch, they'd have to just do the, what is it, 3, 6, 10 digits?
The 60, yeah, either that, or if they happen to have their police radio, handheld radio with them, which is extremely unlikely for somebody that's off duty. You have small groups that probably make that their habit. Some of those specialty units, they may have their equipment close or something. But most likely, yeah, they're gonna have to pick up their phone and make a phone call and, give information, try to monitor a situation and decide, hey, am I intervening, am I not? Where with this, they can literally, it's just like having a radio in your hand, which makes a huge difference, because everybody hears it at once. And as things change quickly, you can say,
So-
things are changing quickly.
So would there be any time that you call that dispatch number, they're delayed in answering it, or is it?
Well, it depends on their call volume and that kind of thing. They're usually really good about picking that. They have a minimum number of rings that they try to.
But
try to
it
pick.
doesn't roll over to 911 or anything like that?
No, if you call the dispatch number, it's the dispatch number.
Yeah.
But you know, calling 911, that goes to the center first and then gets pushed to the city. So there's a little bit of.
But ultimately, when we do what we're gonna do with dispatch, it'll go straight in.
Yes. Yeah. And the good thing about this eliminates that phone call. So you think about it from a communications officer perspective. So they're in there with the headsets doing regular business, what they're doing anyway. Instead of them having to key all this information and receive a phone call and do that, they hear it come across the radio into their headset, so they can immediately type that in. They're not having to relay information because the information's already coming from the officer directly to everyone listening.
And where is all that data stored?
The
From the
recordings
app,
and-
right? I mean, that's a lot
It,
of,
it's gonna be the server with the app. I think that's part of what we pay for.
That's your
Is it's there.
and so,
hardware.
Yeah, I suppose so.
so you'll be able to download and access it, should you need it for like a trial or anything?
Yeah, I could do that. I hadn't thought about that. Because it does record in dispatch as well, the primary. It's every transmission is recorded.
And it stays there in perpetuity?
Yes.
Wow.
That's a long time, never do it.
And that's a lot of stuff in perpetuity.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that it's there forever because, I mean, we have requests from time to time for that.
Right, I mean, I could see there being FOIAs for those things, or
Absolutely.
trials, or things that come up
Subpoenas.
years later, so,
That's true.
yeah, okay. And no additional cost for that storage, that is the cost,
That is the cost.
okay.
They ain't gonna try to get us if we do it again next year.
It's
Well,
gonna
if
be
they do,
like
we won't
those
do it.
Apple charges to your bill, that's
Yeah.
an extra $218
Yeah.
every month.
If they do that, then we have that ability to say, well, no thanks. So I like that too. I hate long term. I have commitment issues and it's tough.
Does the county have this?
I don't think so.
Okay. Off the question. When the county had a shooting a week and a half ago, did y'all respond to that also?
Are you talking about the one at Florence Boulevard?
No.
Was it
Across from-
suicide attempt? The two people that died and one
Yes.
was injured.
Yes.
I think it was right on the fringe of
It
the
is.
city
It's
limits. So
left
we did
side of the
respond.
road's the city, right side's the county.
Right. We did
Hello?
respond. We did respond and it helped secure things. And then once the county got there, we let them take care of that because it was their jurisdiction.
Because the bank robbery went to the county before the city on the call, didn't it?
Yes. And it depends on who the person calling. It depends on what they say and where that phone call gets directed to.
Really?
Because the person was living in the county, so they called 911 because that's their police department. They gave information. That information was relayed, but because of the delay, just because we don't know how long it took that person to call and those kind of things, the response time, then people from the bank started calling, which initiated us because that's in the city limits, and that's kind of how everybody showed up at the same place. It happens that way, and it happens in a lot of calls that way.
I wondered about that, why the county got there just a few minutes earlier.
Yeah, they were kind of already headed that way. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I
Anybody
didn't know
else?
that. Thank you, that's interesting.
Any other questions?
That's good discussion.
I hope I answered all the questions. I hope there's nothing unanswered.
For me, yes, sir, you did.
But I got a note there. I'll email you guys on that max number of users. That's
Yeah.
a great question.
Yeah.
What I see as the most positive is the ability to monitor anything going on in the city of Florence that PD's involved in for all officers.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Billy?
Do you need us to vote on that, Bill?
Yes, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? 3-0.
Thank you very much.
To move to full council.
Yes.
So it'll just be on the next one deadline, which one's available. Probably not the next one, I guess, but the next one.
That's the sixth.
You've
Deadline,
got-
our deadline is usually Tuesday prior, so.
You've got until Tuesday.
Yeah, because we don't have one next Tuesday. We
Right.
got an extra
Oh,
week.
my
Yeah.
bad. Great.
May sixth.
So it'll be on
Yes,
the
ma'am.
next one,
Mhm,
yeah, it'll be on the next
Oh,
Can you have that ready?
this is a long one.
April usually is.
Yeah. I
More
thought
ways
March
than one.
was. Sir? Noise?
Yes, sir, thank you. This is actually, I'm really just here more because I'll do the amendments to the ordinance, but this is the mayor and the chiefs. I think the mayor got a complaint about things going on in the Target parking lot, and this is something that, Chief Holt had brought up, to me several months ago, and,
Thank you.
and the chief can, say where these, potential amendments that are highlighted in yellow came from, because he did some research.
Can I ask a few more questions about the nature of the complaint? Was it noise related? Was it traffic related? What was the,
You want me to get that one?
Yeah, I'm not familiar
Well,
with it.
you didn't see this, I don't even remember where this email,
I think
I'm not
I
sure.
could.
Oh, we got it from the Target manager, so I'm
oh,
not sure.
no,
what it
that
said.
did not come to me. I don't know if it, okay.
I think it only
First
came,
hand
I think you and I were the only person
Okay,
on his,
all right.
you want me to speak to that a little
Yeah,
bit?
I hadn't heard it, but I know what you're talking about because I see
So,
it.
so there's a lot of activity out there with young folks at
On the
Target.
weekends especially, or when the
And-
school's out.
And we get complaints from citizens, regular citizens, on occasion about all the things. And it's all, noise is always one of them, noise from whether it's mufflers or if it's, mainly from radios and, I'm not gonna say CD players, that ages me a little bit, but you know what I'm saying, car stereos. That's the two main complaints when it comes to noise. This time, this email that the mayor and I got was from, I guess, the store manager, I guess, and he even included comments that they're getting on Target's kind of their customer service, how do we do?
Oh,
And it's
really?
like, hey, the store's clean, everything's great, but the parking lot's out of control, and there were one after another. So our issue, and we get complaint, the police department being noise from vehicles, we get those complaints all the time, like constantly. So the way the current noise ordinance is written, and I think it was just from a few years ago, it was updated. The one glaring omission was noise from vehicles. We don't have a way to enforce those at all. So that's been a problem, and our officers are kind of backed into a corner when they go to these calls, and they have to say, well, I'm sorry, but we're not able to enforce those. We can enforce other things, and we can encourage people to turn it down, but there's not a
But
way.
that's vehicles including motorcycles and.
Yeah, especially the music from the vehicles. That's been our hiccup. So that's why we put a draft together, and I'd sent it to Billy a little while back, and this complaint is just one of a million others that we've gotten that are very similar. So
Sometimes we get them downtown. I mean, there's cars and motorcycles that
Oh,
go
yeah.
through town and.
that was a big one. President Simmons, you'll remember the neighborhood around Sheridan. Maybe there was a lot of complaints about the loud mufflers plus
The
music.
yellow Mustang, wasn't
Yep,
it?
yellow.
Orange.
Hey, we got that guy though. We got him a few times. Good. So
And if it's Camaro, that's Officer Lee.
we'll get him too if we need to.
His looks and sounds good.
So the highlighted portions, I looked around in a few agencies. We tend to look toward Huntsville a lot of times because they're kind of ahead of the game when it comes to things like this, at least from our perspective. And I didn't pull all the language from theirs. I left a lot out because it just didn't apply to us. They defined a couple of things, public right of way, what a vehicle is. It's just a couple of things that weren't in ours. And there's really only a handful of things here. If you'll see item E, it talks about a vehicle that's in bad maintained so poorly that it's incredibly loud. We get those complaints too. Cars without mufflers, or there is something wrong with that vehicle and it is too loud and disruptive. Item F, this is the one, it's talking about the muffler. So this isn't necessarily the absence of the muffler, but it's, they'll put those different kind of pipes on them that if they rev it up real good. So that's an issue at Target. That's a big issue right there. They used to call them buzz pipes, but I don't know what they call them now.
There's a term missing from here, and it's the diesel trucks. And
the J
kids-
brakes.
No, the diesel pickup trucks that they have a word for it. They spray with all the black smoke,
Oh, okay.
and that's a new thing that they like to do.
So far as the noise goes, that would probably apply under F, because it's been modified, such as to cut the muffler out, bypass it, with or similar device. I think that's where, it's more the action of what they're doing with it, but I don't know that that would apply to this one. Talks about horns, using, there's a lot of that out there too. And I'm not like married to any of these, it's just options. But that's the unnecessarily honking the horn, when it's not required.
Does the officer have to be present and hear or witness these things?
Yes.
Okay. So what are we gonna do to enforce this?
The same way we enforce everything else. Now, the officers are, not only they're present, they'll have some way to enforce it.
Oh, and we'll have Tango Tango, and be like, go out to Target.
Hey, yeah, go to Target.
But
I like it,
seriously,
Yeah, the officer will have to be there.
Yeah, so, I mean, so it's not enough, it won't be enough for the manager or a customer to call and say this has happened.
Mhm.
The officer will have to be there when it happens.
And they see
Everybody
it.
has a phone.
And
Which
when they
which
see
is
his
the
car, they're
plan.
gonna turn it down
Mhm.
as he approaches, so,
Yeah,
Well, there are other ways.
okay,
I mean, and I'll just say that since we're live right now, so I'm not gonna tell everybody the other ways that this can be enforced without a black and white police car, but I think we can all be
Okay.
imagined.
so if somebody were to capture it on their cell
That's
phones,
what
would
I was
that be
thinking.
enough?
I'd have to research how legal that is. Billy might wanna jump in on that one, I don't know, but, the officer needs to witness it.
Okay,
And you have to be able to identify the person that's in there at the time it's happening.
okay.
So we wouldn't wanna make it so broad that we go in the other
It
direction.
kinda reminds me of a bus situation.
Exactly.
I got a quote, well, when we finish this, I have a question.
I'll be really quick on these next two. So the horn, that's one that could be involved in this. Number H is probably the one that will be the most, I don't want to say controversial, but it's one that we're kind of talking about today. That's the loud music. There's just a lot of language in there, but you see that it, at one time we had a noise ordinance that said an officer could hear it clearly from 5 feet away, and that was ridiculous in the other direction. This one says 25 feet away, and that's all up to, we can all decide what we think that number needs to be.
And does the time of the noise ordinance that we have on page 1, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. also apply to these? So like if somebody were driving through a neighborhood at say midnight,
Mhm.
and that would be outside of the noise ordinance in addition to it being
Could
too
be,
loud?
yeah. Could be, yeah, from a vehicles, because that's been kind of the problem. We haven't had anything that was specific for vehicles. For premises, we have, if
Okay.
I got a rock band or whatever, we would go out, we warn, we tell them to turn it down. If they don't, then we can cite them. But everybody turns it down and then you leave and they turn it back up. But, this one though, this would allow officers, because they're in traffic sometimes and they'll hear it and they'll see exactly where it's coming from.
And they make a motion at
And
that point.
then they
and
have a
do the
reason to
thing.
pull that car
Okay.
over and write them a citation. So you'll notice it says it either produces, and that's what we're looking at, a car stereo produces noise, reproduces, enhances, amplifies within public right of way. And this is all public right of way, which, with Target parking lot,
It's private property, right?
it is private property, so that might be some language change that we might want to put in there, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think that for private property, if the property owner, which is just this, using Target as an example, has complained about it, then, honestly, I think that if if they were creating a disturbance and the property owner might have to swear out a warrant or make a statement, but then I think y'all could trespass them.
Right, and we're doing some of that now, it's just, this just gives us that piece that's been missing if we go forward with it. And it's not just in the Target parking lot situation, it happens in neighborhoods, the complaints are way more in neighborhoods than they are Target.
Well, I'm noticing too, in H especially, it says you use the language, sound shall be by the auditory senses. So you're not even using one of your decibel readers. This is just what you can hear and you all deem to be nuisance.
And that's why I say that 25 feet, obviously that's flexible, we can
Audible
extend that out.
at 25 feet.
Yeah, clearly audible, yeah, so
That's
that's,
Nickelback, I know. And I'm 25 feet away.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's Jimmy Buffett, I clearly know that song. But that's again, that's what Huntsville has, 25 feet. If we were to go this direction, and we can choose whatever distance that we think is fair.
Well, I'm gonna say this, I think, where's this noise ordinance, the fraternity houses over there off of Locust, and I live way streets and blocks. And if I can hear that from there to my house, it is extremely too loud.
And they fall in our current noise ordinance. That's enforceable.
It needs to truly be enforced.
Now, special events, special event permit changes things a
Yeah.
bit, but there's time frames on that.
But that only
And-
goes to 10 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly, and those can be shut down by an on-duty supervisor if there's multiple complaints, like that's on the permit, it says that, so. If it's excessively loud, and there are multiple complaints,
And
even if it's
I use
permitted.
them, that to me is for anybody.
Well, that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example of it. And
Nobody's
we're,
exempt.
we're set up now, all we need
If
are
you hear
phone
that, that's
calls.
loud.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean,
All we need are phone calls to dispatch on that, and those can be addressed.
I hear the stadium from my house. So does that fall into that?
There's something in here,
I can hear. Can you?
hang on, it's in our current ordinance, I think.
It doesn't bother me. I know what, I mean, it's like, oh, they're going late, you know?
You're talking Brawley.
Yes, sir, yeah.
So exemptions, that's a section, on here it's called 1527.
Okay, yes, I'm with you.
Says observance of regularly scheduled, the ringing of bells for religious purposes, live remote broadcasts. Any public program, activity, event, demonstration, protest, or parade authorized by the city of Florence.
What number is that?
That's the very last one,
H. Okay, thank you.
So long as the program, activity, event, demonstration, protest, or parade complies with the terms of any such authorization. So if it's a city event, like music in the park, that's a city event, and it would be in violation, I guess, it's in a public place, but it's a city sanctioned event, and it's permitted. So that's where the difference is. I don't know if the Fiji House, or whichever one it is, or a combination, I don't know if they do that or not.
They perhaps have a permit, but still, even if you're permit, you're too loud if I can hear them at my house.
That's true. So it's based off the complaints, so.
Gotcha.
Or tell people,
New
yeah, tell people
fraternity. I
that.
heard there's gonna be a new fraternity that they bought the Moody Drug building.
He's messing with you.
Do you
There's a
see-
sign in
So
your
yeah,
front yard.
encourage people to call those, seriously.
Do you see any, I mean, honestly, Chief, do you see any issues with
Really?
enforcing this?
Have you heard me say something about it?
I
Don't play.
appreciate what you're
No.
saying about if they're in their
I'm
car
just,
and
but I'm
if
just
they hear
picking
it.
at her.
Oh,
But,
God.
I mean, and
You know better.
just, I wanna make sure that this doesn't
That's-
sound
you
like a
get away with
mandate
stuff like
to
that. Rest
people
of us can't
who
get
have
away
to
with that.
interact with it.
Can too.
Like
Yeah,
the
I
Target
agree.
mayor.
No,
How are we
he
going
knows
to
I don't
help
want to say right now.
facilitate improving that parking lot? Because as a consumer, it's probably viewed as a bit
So who owns it
unsafe,
now?
especially if you have your children or whatever with you. So I'm trying
So-
to balance how that will be.
I've thought about this a lot.
Okay,
So when it comes to the patrol, the regular patrol shift dealing with an issue, they're saddled with answering calls for service, and I think the number right now is they answer about 121 every 24 hours.
Cool.
So it's a lot, and those could be anything. Doing the regular patrols, so patrol shifts, when it comes to addressing a specific issue, like if there's a problem location, we'll try to assign folks, to give it special attention, which is what we've done with Target, and it's just increased patrols, increased enforcement, because we try not to be a zero tolerance police department where like you can't do anything that's fun or we're gonna pounce out of the bushes. We don't wanna do that. But when it's an issue like this, we do wanna enforce it when we can. So what this could do, it'll give us the opportunity to actually enforce there. But what I tell folks, sometimes an option is they can hire an off-duty police officer.
oh, yeah.
Because in the other world, when we're talking about patrol, we just can't put a person somewhere for an entire shift and just watch that one place. But if, and I'm not suggesting this, but I always let people know about it. If they feel like they need that 24/7 coverage or that coverage during a certain time, and the guarantee to have somebody there with a police car, with enforcement ability, with all the things, I don't necessarily encourage them, but I let them know that you can hire an off-duty police officer to do that, and they're yours.
It's a 2 hour minimum,
It's
$40.
a 3 hour minimum, and it's $40 an hour. And yeah, there's a cost to that, but then that's what that officer. It's like during the holidays when there's an officer at Walmart, there's an officer at Target. Like they aren't getting paid by the city, the taxpayers. They're getting paid by the entity, and that's why they're able to stay right there, because it's not fair to ask a taxpayer to pay for somebody that's just gonna sit at your house. Because taxpayers aren't getting what they're paying for, so, that's kind of an alternative to that. And it might be a conversation we need to have with some of those businesses.
They might, I mean, if they don't know that's an option, they might need to be made aware that it is an option. I mean, the target manager just might not know, and
That's very possible.
if that's the case, it might be a worthy investment on a Friday and Saturday night or whenever.
Just during those
Oh,
times.
that was the other question. Are these specifically related to Friday and Saturday? Because Katrina said something that we kind of glossed over early, and with summer coming up, is this expected to get worse with
Yes.
school being out?
Yes.
Okay, so,
They move from McFarland to Target, wherever their pressure is.
My phone, they're everywhere. And that's good. Kids gonna be kids, and
They
I'm
are.
thinking kids should be kids.
And that's kind of the balance we want, we don't wanna be the fun police, we just wanna be the
We
police.
want kids to be kids and to enjoy themselves, but in a respectful manner and safe manner.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, it's not infringing on other people's
And kids ain't gonna be
ability.
quiet.
Yeah.
We all was kids once.
And the answer is,
And so
like you
let them
said,
have
wherever
fun.
they're pushed, that means we come with pressure from this place and they're gonna go somewhere else. That's not solving anything, at all, so this does give us a little more, enforcement ability,
I do,
which,
I would like to request that whenever you get all the tweakings and all of the, get it all fixed, I think we should present this out to the public and give them an opportunity instead of just, bam, there it is, and then you start writing them. Give an opportunity.
I agree.
It's how we get the message out and let them know, so, it's out there, so you have an opportunity to fix this before you having to start doing
Well,
these
and,
things.
and this is what we did back in 2000 when we enacted the very stringent at the time noise ordinance because of the loud music. Because that's back when the stereos, today they're nothing compared to what they were then. They were unbelievable. There would be a $200 car with like a $5,000 stereo in it. So it was a very stringent, I'm not even kidding, and it was very stringent, it was 5 feet. If you could hear it clearly from 5 feet. And so what defense attorneys were doing, they would get in court and they would stand 5 feet away and they would just talk like I am and say, so am I in violation right now of this? And, it was too stringent. So I would echo what you say. What we did then, I want to say we went 6 months at least, but all we did was warn. We didn't write any citations for it. We pulled people over and say, hey, listen, this is a new ordinance. And just know that after this date, or if you're pulled over again, because we'll document that you've been warned, you could be hit with a fine.
Even the media may just need to do a story on this to let them know that this is coming.
and to know the value of this, that this is not something done to prohibit the fun and all that stuff. We just are trying to strike that right balance of making it safe, but also giving people an opportunity to enjoy their summers too.
But what you're saying is, what he was saying was after it was enacted, he would do
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
But what you're saying is before we enact it, we do something to get the word out.
Yeah, let's be proactive instead of getting it and then trying to tell them. Educate them first.
Yeah, because there's
In advance.
obviously no hurry to this at all. I mean, it needs to roll out at the pace that it needs to roll out, and we've been without it for some time, and it's not going to kill us to be without it a little longer.
So where are we with this? Do we need to vote on it, or is it
Well,
just
he got
something
some
that's,
he got some
it's gonna come along,
language,
it'll come back to
Yeah,
us
so,
again?
so my biggest concern, I'll
there's
just
some language in there to fix.
Yeah.
as the police chief, I think we need to look at that 25 feet, and personally, I feel like that's a little close. I think that number should probably be a little further out for it to be a violation. That's something we need to give some more thought to before we get close to it.
You were also gonna look at the private versus public rights of way. So that to me is the only way we're gonna have any help for a private business.
Yeah, I will definitely look at this and try to take the, comments into consideration that have been made and craft something that, and also, probably what I will recommend is that rather than incorporating the vehicle noise violations into the current noise ordinances, I'll probably just do another section of the noise where that just
okay.
deals with vehicles, just so people don't get confused about. Because frankly, when you're talking about a vehicle on private property, let's say at a house, let's say I'm out in my front yard in my vehicle and I've got my trunk open and so my subwoofers can really, and I got all my doors open. you know, that would be, in my opinion, a violation that could be cited under the premises noise ordinance. So I'll look at that and maybe talk about, I just have to craft some way to talk about vehicles in the right of way and also hopefully come up with a way that we can enforce, or deter people from doing that in parking lots. It won't be necessarily private residences, but if we could say public areas or public common areas that are common areas on jointly used private property. I don't know, I have to just do some research and see, but basically, in places where where the public is invited to come, like stores and things where they're basically, everybody's an invitee, which is what they would call for purposes of premises liability in civil law, so, but yeah, something like that, just to try to give the police enough flexibility, and like Chief Holt's been saying, it's all things like, enforcing any law, but especially things like this, it's an exercise in common sense and trying to balance but one of the things that the Target, I was shocked, but one of those Target complaints said that these teenagers drove by and shot a woman with an airsoft gun, and it was a gun, and it was one of those airsoft guns that looks it's black, it looks like a real gun.
I was very surprised.
I was too.
I never heard of that.
I couldn't believe that, because that could cause, that's a terrifying thing to have somebody with everything going on to point something that looks like a real gun.
Well, and that's a
Issue
felony.
last year, I believe,
That's-
those
It
are
is,
felony.
oh, that's right, it is a felony.
Oh my
Yeah,
Did
goodness.
you have
it's the
that
same kind
situation last year with those guns?
And as far as the distance goes, I think it's about 25 feet from me to that door over there. So just, you can imagine, that's a little close, I think. I think that needs to be extended out.
Katrina has one more thing, don't you?
I do,
Yeah.
I do. This is totally off of all this, so if y'all through with your ordinances and all this,
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
thank you. So, mine is just totally this. Since we in public safety, and since we've got you here, the chief, I was gonna email you, but no better than face to face, right?
Yeah, sure.
Of course, we're all dealing with trying to clean up the city, trying to clean up the properties. So, when the police officers are riding around in neighborhoods and they don't have calls, when they see inoperable vehicles on blocks, expired tags, or places they shouldn't be, can they not just automatically stop and do that instead of we're having to call? They're on more streets than we are.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if it's
Can we
things,
get them to
if it's
do
things
that?
that are a violation, absolutely.
There's all kinds of violations.
Okay, so what,
And that violation don't mean them take it up the street and that person put it in their yard,
Is that
because there's
really
another
on Broadway
violation.
and
Yeah.
They've gotta call the building
No.
department, but when they
Oh,
see
they
a
call
car
you
with an
too?
expired tag or no
Yeah.
tag,
They call me all
and
the
it's
time.
setting up on blocks, can they not
That's
just,
how I talked.
shouldn't wait for no council person to have to call
well, I don't
them?
think, because,
I'm not saying that they do,
It's been
but
there
I'm
2
like,
years
they're on
anyways.
more streets, cause they're,
But they're
But-
everywhere.
that's what they do,
It's
all
not
day,
just
they drive
that.
around. Yeah.
yeah,
So-
but can they just not do
Well, they
that?
do in the yard.
Yeah, that's part of their patrol duty.
Across the
I think
street,
that's an
there's 7 in the
expectation.
Well, I thought
Maybe
it
it's something
was,
we
but
need
it
to
needs to
remind.
be,
All inoperable.
happen,
Yeah, I can do that.
I've got
one
I
more
can make
thing,
that
too.
reminder, absolutely. Thank you
please.
for letting me know.
The elevators in the new parking deck, I've estimated 10 visits to inoperable, which the good thing is nobody's been stuck in it
And
yet.
that's not just District One, citywide, let's get this fixed.
Our warranty runs out in September, and we have an opportunity to buy an extended warranty. If the first year it's been broken 10 times or more, what's it gonna be in year 2, or year 4, or year 6? It just,
Is this public safety? Is
Yes.
this- But is this our ability to fix it? I don't know.
I know Steve's been working with Jason and Calvin.
is that to purchase an extended warranty?
Or to make it right. It's
Well, I'm
ridiculous.
gonna say this.
After September, they're not gonna do anything.
Well, I'm gonna say this, Bill, from day one, we've had problems with the elevator.
Yes.
So they should fix it automatically and not keep fixing it, they need to fix it. Cause it shouldn't break down as much as it does for a brand new, building.
I agree.
So they wanna
We
sell
got
an
what we paid for though.
well, they wanna sell an extended
I don't
warranty, they
think we
need to
got
fix
we
what
paid
they,
for.
We didn't get anything better than we paid for. I mean, it's broken all the
You
time.
would think you bought brand new, it ought to work.
I know.
as it should. So they just wanna sell some extended warranty. No, fix what you put in there.
I agree,
From day one.
and I agree. But if we don't,
If it was your personal house, would you be so easy on them? You would not.
I'm
And
not-
neither would I.
we're not easy on them. It's, somebody's in there every week, a week, 2 weeks. They come when they're called.
They don't need to keep coming, they need to fix it. Get to the root of the problem and fix it. Fix it, fix it, fix it.
But after September, every time they come to fix it, they're
When-
gonna charge
no.
us whatever
When
they
did we
want.
open, when did we open it?
I don't remember the date, but.
Whatever month it opened, they should have been fixing it the first time it
I
broke
agree.
down. They shouldn't keep getting calls 10 times, just fix it.
But it's not fixed.
Thank you.
All right, that's,
Well, I mean,
I would hate to be in it when it quit.
happy to do whatever we need to do, Bill. If it is this committee, if it is finance, about the warranty, and if it's building and planning, totally happy to get this, as Ms. Simmons says, fix it, fix it, fix it. That's
Um,
gonna be your quote.
This time, I'll just leave it to fix it, fix it, fixing. But if it's still breaking, I'm gonna make a motion that we buy this warranty.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that they fix it.
I know.
I mean, we bought this expensive parking deck and the elevator has never worked. And now they wanna sell warranty? Fix your product.
It just doesn't work that way.
It gave me a chance to eat my sandwich.
My house was built in '62,
Fix it, Billy.
and I have a warranty on my house.
There you go. Billy got it.
What
What?
did he say?
Sue 'em.
Civil sue.
You've
Oh,
sold,
okay.
obviously you have sold
Well, that's
us
what it's gonna
some
come down
faulty-
to.
Well, if it
Which
has
is
to come down to
cheaper.
that,
Suing them or
Suing
having a
them.
warranty?
It just depends.
Killing me today.
I mean, if it's a defective product and it's never gonna be fixed,
We
then
called the meeting during her lunch.
we
She's
should
gonna get her
sue
lunch.
them and get
She
them.
is, yes, we all are. We are gonna get all of our money's worth,
Got
yes.
that?
I hadn't thought about that.
But I mean, that would be,
That's, I mean, after
No,
all
that
this
would be a
time,
last resort,
it is,
but-
it should be working and there should be no excuse.
Yes.
And if that means replacing the entire, structure of the
Yeah.
equipment, then that's on them,
And that's an
not
option.
us.
I don't know, cause I'm not an architect or engineer, but at some point, if it couldn't get fixed, I mean, as a,
if it was your personal, you
You know,
would have had
Document
to come
it,
out and
document
replace
it,
it.
document it.
exactly, and Steve's
Okay.
doing it.
Witness my
I
air
mean, we would
conditioner.
have to sue them and try to recoup enough money to put a new system
Let's
in.
put a new one in,
If we
but obviously
could.
that one has some errors and not just wanting to sell us,
Oh, I forgot to tell you.
they wanna spend more money, just
Any
wanna
other
get some.
comments?
It's another
I
brand
saw
new.
that. I read
We don't know
all
if it'll do the
this.
same thing or not, but we know this one is not working and now we've paid millions.
We have
of
two,
dollars.
Just
correct?
one, we got two.
I was gonna say, it's only one of them.
So we've
Is
paid
it the
millions
same
for it,
one
so
that
it
breaks?
should
Real time,
work.
like,
Oh, that's bad. I
like
was hoping it was
360
just
and
one.
Is it
Wave,
Otis?
very
What
cool.
brand is it? Do we know?
Something bad.
T-Sun, you know,
You
concert.
just-
Y'all gotta start holding these people accountable for stuff.
We never hear from you again.
It's not
We have your-
Almost have to know
Otis.
exactly what-
Not Otis.
No.
Wow.
You don't.
All right, we're dismissed.
Wow.
Our radio doesn't do that.